Hello, welcome to the GI Justin channel. Bunch of stuff to talk with you guys about today. We're going to focus in on one topic that is most important. I want you guys to settle a debate for me before we get to that level. Here's what I want to know. When you are cooking outside on your grill, barbecuing like you do you use gas, charcoal, or those weirdo pellet grills? I just want you to answer that for me. So in the comments, let me know which you choose, because me and a very good friend of mine are having a highly heated debate on which one is the preferred method. I have my own preferred method, as I'm sure you do, and I want to know what you guys think. So go ahead and cure that for me right off the jump, because I would appreciate your assistance so I can show my friend that my method is in fact correct. So what I want to talk with you about today, I kind of want to get back into one of the reasons I decided to start the channel, which was to show people who may not know some really cool survival skills and some really neat ways to do some stuff you may not know. And one of y'all who's very loyal to the channel asked me about a particular piece of survival gear that they don't know a heck of a lot about, that most people in today's day and age don't know a heck of a lot about. And this particular item is, in my opinion, something that everyone should know how to use, because we live in this day and age where everybody just hops on Google Maps, hops on Waze, hops on whatever you hop on to get where you're going, and you're a slave to it. Problem is, countries have figured out how to jam this thing. So this thing we're talking about is GPS. So the way GPS operates, GPS is a receiver, and in space, GPS requires at least 3 satellites to triangulate your position. So if you draw lines from my hand, 1, 2, and 3, you magically get this perfect point in space. And from this perfect point in space, we can determine your geographic location. The more satellites we have, the smaller the error, the circular error of probability becomes, which means, when you're looking at Google Maps, you got this big blue circle outside of your blue dot. You could be anywhere within that circle. So the more lines we can draw, the tighter we can basically get to your location. So that is a brief discussion of a very dumbed down way to say that's how GPS operates. So what happens if you have no cell signal, your cell phone dies, you don't know where you are, and you have no plan? The correct answer is this. So this is a U.S. Army standard issue compass. They can be found in every single military surplus store in the universe, most likely. And if you can't get your hands on one of these, compasses can be found anywhere. They're super easy to find, super easy to operate. Easy. So here's what we're going to talk about with the compass. I recommend highly get your hands on one of these U.S. military issue compasses. They have some really nice things about them that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to use the terminology I'm going to use is not the exact terminology related to the compass. It is going to be terminology that makes it easy to understand. So the first thing you'll notice about the compass, it's got a big lanyard to put around your neck, like so. Lovely. Second thing that you're going to notice, it has this little closure that keeps it closed. That is nice. When you open the compass, it has several little things. There's a little viewing window right here. You have your actual compass itself, and then you have a little thread in the middle with a window on the back of it. So the purpose of all these and the proper way to use them, I'm going to show you guys as best I can using the methods we have available. The proper way to set up your compass is fold the cap all the way to the point that it's straight up, hold the viewing window to the point that is straight up, and the proper way to use it is basically like this. If you know generally what direction you want to go, you pick out an object in the distance. For this particular instance, we're going to say I see along my long distance line of sight, I need water. So there's a lake way off in the distance that I can see. Instead of, or even with the paper map, I see a lake out there and I can spot that lake in the very long distance. Just using this as an example. What you do is you will hold the compass up like so to the point that you can put this tiny little space right there, right in the middle of that thread. You're going to line those up perfectly and hold it directly up to your eye like so. I'm going to do it right here like this so you can see it. And what you're doing is you're putting the thread right in the middle of this notch, and you're going to take the object in the distance that you want to know what your bearing to it will be, and you're going to line that thread up with the object. So when you do that, you're going to line it up right in the middle, and this little itty bitty piece of glass right here is actually magnifying. And what it's doing is it is magnifying to the compass so you can look through it and look down and see exactly what your heading will be. So if my object was you guys, I would put it directly on you. I put the thread directly on you, line it up through my sighting notch, and look down at my compass. And what it is telling me right now is it is 185 degrees directly to you. So what you can do from that, you can pull it down and use that distance, or use that bearing as a way to track yourself directly to that object. So now we know I can take a look at this compass and say, you know, it's not going to hold it for sure, but I could say, okay, 185 degrees is what I'm going for. And I can use the line on the compass to track directly 185 degrees directly to the object that I want to get to. Benefit to this is if there is an obstruction, perhaps, that you have to go through. You know, if you're standing up high, you have to go down through some woods or through whatever kind of obstruction is in your way, you'll still be able to stay right on the 185, and it should theoretically, as long as you can hold that 185, take you directly to that object that you plan on going to. So once again, we'll run through it real fast and get right to it. You've got your lake. You're standing up on a ridge line. You've got a bunch of woods in the way, and then your lake. So once you get down off the ridge line, you're obstructed and can't see the lake. So what you do, you hold it up, look at the lake, line your thread directly to the lake, get right up against your sight window, and use your tiny, tiny, tiny little spot there, your little sighting notch. Line it up, look right through, look down at your compass, find what the bearing to your object is. So again, y'all are 185. Then you can bring it down, and as you're walking, as long as you're staying 185, you should theoretically walk directly along that line. One of the things that plays into this is as you're moving, if you have the ability to spot the object in the distance that you want to walk to, you can always adjust your bearing based on that, where you can look up and say, okay, cool, I'm lining it up again. My bearing is now 188. So now what you can do is you can go back and say, all right, cool, now I'm walking, I'm going to start walking 188 instead of 184, whatever that number may be. So that's the basics to the compass. There's a lot more that can go into it, but for this particular instance, that is really the best way, in my opinion, that you can use a compass to navigate with. If you have a compass that is not necessarily this style, if you have perhaps the plastic style or like the one I keep on my knife that you've seen, if you've watched my worst case scenario, this is the knife you should carry video, you can also use that to do the same thing. You just won't have the windows and the sight line, so you'll have a much more rudimentary way to navigate your situation. In a later video, we're going to talk about a little more orienteering, where we're actually going to go out in the woods behind the house here and have a look and start looking at actual orienteering in terms of looking at a map and saying, okay, how the heck do I find out where I am right now, because I have no idea. So that's really about where we're at. If you guys want to have any questions in the comments, go ahead and throw them in there. I'll answer them when it comes to this basic style of navigation. So if you have any more questions, go ahead and throw them down there. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.